Def Noodles made a video after I made my video. Now, from what I've seen in the comments, sorry, this wasn't intentional, Def Noodles. I'm sorry. This was. This is funny. It is a funny screen pause. But there are people saying that I didn't do research. I want you to understand something, okay? Okay, I literally watched every single video, like in its entirety. Both videos and yours. Like, I did my research. Now, you may think that I have a wrong interpretation, and that's totally fine. We can discuss that. But I did my research. I'm going to assume, and I could be wrong, that you're going to try to make some kind of like a Papa Gut Keemstar thing. Keemstar does not like me. Like, he doesn't like me. I've talked about this before. I've called him out constantly. 90% of his takes are not great. And like, I know he tried to befriend me by offering me like a job. He was like, "Oh, maybe you could write for Drama Alert's online newspaper thing. We'll not pay you, and but it could be good exposure." I know the game. I know that he did something similar to you, reaching out to you, and then after the fact, I even mentioned this in my video, that he like slandered you, which makes you not like him. And I get that, but like, I'm not gonna fall into the camp of like Keemstar, Ethan Klein. It's preposterous. Like, I'm just not gonna do it. I think it's just like ridiculous. I think it's very immature. I think that everybody gets very reactionary on here. I'm not going to do that. Okay. Let's just establish that moving forward from here. Okay. Just saying. Okay. I criticize things that I feel need to be criticized. That's all I have to say. And I'm a very opinionated person. So I'm annoying. I get it. But let's watch the video here. All right, let's go, Def Noodles.
This point. Anyway, folks, I recently covered a story about the B family, specifically the daughter getting harassed after a whole Roblox thing with her older brother. And there's been one video specifically that reacted to my coverage of this that has been an extremely disingenuous misrepresentation of everything that I do in the video. So I just wanted to basically...
I don't think that's true. I think I'm very correct, but okay.
But that video.
The thing I find a little bizarre is I looked here, and I couldn't find it. But this is the first. Def Noodles is now talking about this. He said a day ago. If I go over to Drama Alert, it's a reaction to Keemstar, I feel. Keemstar, the day before Def Noodles released his video, released a video, talked about the B family, gave his quick take on it.
Now, right off the bat, this guy's already wrong. I covered this story on Instagram 2 days before Keemstar even published his video, as you can see.
That's fair. You know, the only reason that I said that was to have a conversation. Because, well, first of all, I thought it was true. But second of all, like, let's acknowledge that, like, him and Keemstar don't get along. And we already explained why. Keemstar tried to reach out to him in some friendship capacity. Def Noodles denied it, so Keemstar slandered his name. So my whole point was, like, trying not to get roped into one side or the other. Obviously, apparently I was wrong about this. So, okay, fair enough. It doesn't invalidate the rest of what I said, but that's fair.
See from the dates of my post and the day that Keemstar posted his video. Now, this is going to be a common narrative with this guy, that's folks. Fair. He just gets the smallest bit of information and he jumps to the wildest fucking conclusions and he presents it as though it's fact.
I know. Let's see what we got here, brother. That Def Noodles doesn't like Keemstar. Is that wrong? Wait, am I wrong about that? I'm pretty sure Def Noodles and Keemstar don't like each other. And that's a very important thing to talk about.
Welcome, folks.
Because I feel genuinely that listen, I don't know Def Noodles' content, generally speaking.
Don't you love it, folks, when somebody's about to make a full assessment on your work, who you are, your intentions and motivations, and they preempt that by saying, now, I don't know this person, I don't know it.
This is a little hypocritical because you're doing the same thing to me. Like, I don't know your content, and I'm being honest about it, because I don't watch you. In the same way you don't watch me. So it's a little like, what I do know though is that Keemstar slandered you and you don't like him. So like when we sit here and like I think that it's a very wrong thing to think that somebody should be 100% educated on you as a content creator at every point in time, right? Whether it's not a positive thing, but at the end of the day, we don't really talk about people that we like so much. We amplify the worst aspects of it. So you could say that I'm guilty of that. Fair enough. That's fair, right? But that's what we do in commentary spaces. You usually talk about the negatives, like, oh, this person did a bad thing. We don't really talk about the positives of an individual, right? So again, like what you're doing here, and I know I did it first, but that's because, you know, I think that you had a horrible take on it. But this idea that I need to be like, I need to have watched every Def Noodles video and understand you like completely, I think that's a very dishonest understanding of anything. But okay.
anything about them, but this is what I believe.
Well, no, I know that Keemstar. I watched a video where you said that Keemstar like called you like a pedophile and like that you don't like him. So I know that much. That's why I know that part. Like, I just want you to know that.
Really informs you just exactly how much this person is willing to reach.
He's very reactionary to Keemstar. If Keemstar has a particular thought or feeling or expression on a thing, he just aligns with the opposite of that thought, feeling, or expression on that thing. Yeah, man, I feel that way, especially about the Sniper Wolf situation. That was my first introduction to you. So, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe you do genuinely align with Sniper Wolf. But it feels like because Keemstar supported, or in that whole Sniper Wolf situation, because Keemstar took the stance against Sniper Wolf, I felt like that you took the stance towards her for that. Because I think that when you look at the information, it's very factually accurate that Sniper Wolf was in the wrong. We're talking about that 10-year-old girl with cancer, right? And, you know, the mom reached out, tried to talk to Sniper Wolf. She kept dodging her. Keemstar called her out. Then she finally realigned. So maybe I was wrong about that, but it feels that way because it seems rather bizarre from a commonsensical perspective that you could take Sniper Wolf's side as like, oh, she was going to get to it. Because from what I read, like she was trying to dodge this person very heavily. So yeah, you know what? Fair enough. Sorry for saying that you just will completely disalign yourself with Keemstar instantaneously. I do know that you hate him. So I don't think it's an unreasonable assumption, but okay, fair enough.
I don't know if you know this, folks, but I really dislike Keemstar.
Yeah.
Shocking, right?
Yeah.
Now, the irony of this whole situation is that this guy is trying to paint me as just being completely reactionary to Keemstar by literally reacting to one of the only videos out of the past few months where I basically have a very similar point of view to Keemstar's. Now, at the end of
What do you mean? What does that mean? I don't think that he has a similar point of view to Keemstar in this situation. Keemstar's point was like, hey, I get that it's true. Keemstar didn't even really talk about it. Keemstar was just like, hey, guys, we watched the Keemstar thing. He's like, oh, this kid harassed, was trolled. Let's be more concise. Killick and the Mr. B kid, the kid, were having like some Roblox trolling. And then he said your mama and your sister jokes, basically. And he thinks that it's a little out of hand. That was pretty much it. Wasn't super in-depth, but sure, okay.
the day, no matter how much I dislike Keemstar, I still have my own point of view. I wouldn't be able to host this show and do this every single day and talk to all of you genuinely if I was just looking for ways to just completely oppose Keemstar and everything he does. First,
that's not actually what I was trying to say. I wasn't making this assertion that you were trying to completely look at Keemstar and what he says and then just go, I'm going to take the opposite take. I was talking more of like a subconscious bias type of a situation that would make you turn away from what Keemstar was saying and towards the other direction in defense of like whoever he was talking about. It wasn't something that was like super active. So sorry if I didn't make that clear enough, but okay.
off, that would just be absolutely insane with the amount of stories that I constantly cover. Anybody who watches my videos, you know that on any given video, I may end up covering 12 topics. If I'm looking for Keemstar's opinion on 12 different topics so I can just be opposed to him,
scared me.
Geez, I'm not going to have any fucking videos to make. And that doesn't even account for the fact that 95% of the time, I don't even cover the same stories as Keemstar. Now, with that being said,
well, that kind of would like go against your own narrative. Like if he only covers 5% of the same stories, then that would make it easier for you to actively do that. But yeah, man, I wasn't saying that you were actively doing that, so sorry I wasn't concise enough. It was more of like a passive thing, right? But okay.
Naturally, I'm going to have a very different point of view to Keemstar. The guy was born and raised in Buffalo, still lives in the same town. Okay. I grew up in Brazil. I lived in many different parts of the United States. Okay. I have been traveling my entire life, basically a gypsy, living from town to town every few years. So I'm going to have a very different point of view.
The reason that he does that, from my understanding, is that I think Keemstar would apparently, according to Def Noodles, tried to call him like a or something.
Don't you love it when somebody doesn't do their fucking research?
I swear I watched a video. Didn't Keemstar try to like deplatform you, call you a pedophile?
And just talks out of their ass. First off, it's not according to me. This is literally fact.
Okay. Well, so this is not to use my own word, but disingenuous here. Bro, right now, okay, this is like probably the worst part so far because it is the worst, like probably the most bad faith. I was like, yeah, the reason Def Noodles doesn't like him is apparently Keemstar did this thing, right? I said apparently because I haven't confirmed it. That's it. I believe Def Noodles seems like a fairly credible guy. But to say like, well, no, actually, it's confirmed. It's a fact. Okay, relax. the fact that we're like, you're kind of like, you're going on this weird interpretation because I didn't say the right specific word. And now it just seems like you're doing the best that you can just to go against anything that I'm saying. So you're nitpicking like these details that are somewhat irrelevant. You're kind of going on like a rant on it. So it seems a little dishonest, man. Come on. Like, this is me steel manning like why you would have this reaction to Keemstar, even if I'm wrong about the reaction. And if I am, sorry. But I'm steel manning your position on like why you would have developed that like bias against Keemstar and why that would have invaded your thoughts and made you think like different things, or made you think in a way where if Keemstar supported a thing, then you would go against a thing. And now you're like, you're just digging in on this. So it's a little silly.
Keemstar falsely accused me of being
okay. Yeah, it's a fact then. Apparently, yeah. Well, it's a fact. We're seeing it on here.
A P word. The tweet is still up. Okay. You could have done 5 seconds worth of research. And
see, this is what I'm talking about. I took his word for it, and he's still giving me like, you could have done more research. I took your word for it. Like, it's just like a really bad faith interpretation, and it's like, it's actually like, come on, man. Like, you like at this point you should have been like, okay, like, come on, man. Like, come on.
And fucking found it. But at this point, it's been very well documented that my issue with Keemstar started back in March of 2021 when he literally started attacking me daily on Twitter just because Ethan Klein and Trisha Paytas were retweeting me. It's well documented. Not only that, he was also DMing me the most insane shit. At this point, I've discussed it.
I'm sorry that I wasn't like super aware of the hyper specifics of online drama. Like I usually I do cover like drama stuff, but I cover like social issues and whatnot. So I'm very sorry. Again, though, I just took your word for it. So like, it seems like you're being it's a little sussy, bro. Come on.
In enough videos, I'm not going to rehash it right now. I'm just going to link it up here so you can watch it later. And by the way, the reason why I don't agree with Keemstar on most of the topics that we cover is not because he falsely accused me of doing something that I didn't do. It's because I fundamentally disagree with him on numerous things. For example, harassment.
So I think that like one of the things here that this is one of the reasons why I watch people's full videos, and like it's not realistic for his type of channel to do that. I get it. He does like short, like here's like these things happen, and he gives him like more palatable message, and I get that. But the reason that I like to do this is because like there's a 35-minute reaction to his video. Like I go through like lengths talking about how Keemstar like has shit takes 90% of the time. And like, I don't know, it just feels like without that context, it seems like the subtextual argument is trying to draw a line between me and Keemstar. You know, it just feels like such a dishonest interpretation here.
Harassment. Keemstar has numerous times published videos where he says that he's pro-harassment. I am completely against harassment of any sort.
I get it. Keemstar's had some, the majority of Keemstar's takes aren't great.
Now, folks, this whole part...
Yeah, there you go. Thanks. There you go. You acknowledged it. Thank you. His takes are pretty bad.
Just threw me for a fucking loop because this guy saying that Keemstar maliciously publishing an absolutely false allegation about me with the intent of destroying my career is a bad take.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, listen, no offense. You're obviously much more connected to your, attempted deplatforming than I am. So I'm sorry I didn't carry the same moral outrage that you did when it happened. And that's pretty much what Keemstar has. Some shit takes. I don't know what to tell you, but like, I'm sorry that I wasn't angry enough for you. It is really like a bad interpretation when I'm like, yeah, I know Keemstar has some shit takes and like, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, you're not angry enough. And it's like, okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what else you want me to say, man. Like, you have some really interesting expectations from me as far as how angry I should be getting. Okay.
Is literally the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. A bad take is saying that iced coffee isn't good in the winter. Now, purposely publishing false information about somebody with a malicious intent of destroying their career and their life is the highest level of a slander. Now,
yeah, I mean, I agree, man. Like, I don't think that you should equate men to, like, pedophiles when they're not pedophiles. From where I come from, like, that is legitimately, like, an act of violence. Is, like, equating somebody to some kind of, like, sexual predator in some capacity. And I mean that. Because, like, most men will hurt somebody for harming children, obviously. A lot of men, myself included, will go to jail for that kind of stuff, I'm assuming Def Noodles is in the same category. So yeah, I understand that. I'm sorry that I didn't I didn't stress it enough. You know, obviously, like I said, I took it on face value that that's what he did. Yeah, I guess I'm sorry. But yeah, man. I also think that like the B family also tried to call Killick a pedophile. And you're defending them on that. And we're talking about a 17-year-old kid that was, listen, we're talking about a 17-year-old kid who was up in a very toxic space with the B brother. He was part of it too, and he took it too far. And he was like, "Oh, your mom's hot. I'm gonna fuck your mom and be your stepdad." And he's like, "Oh, your sister's a porn star. She's gonna get gangbanged." Completely inappropriate. I've held that position from the start. But their reaction to it, calling like a 17-year-old a pedophile and a predator and like a rapist, that's too much. And so it is a little bit hypocritical for you to be so upset with me for not really driving home the point that Keemstar tried to call you a pedophile because he's a scumbag. But then at the same time, defending a family of people who are calling a 17-year-old boy a pedophile unjustifiably. They initially said he was 19 without doing their research. It's impossible that they came up with the incorrect age without doing it intentionally, honestly. That's my true belief, because it said he was 16 on his Twitter. It says 17 now, and it said he's 17 in his Instagram, and they came up with 19, and they called him a pedophile. And then after they got the age right in the second video, they continued to call him a grown man. And like, come on, man. Like, do you not think that maybe the B family is doing something to similar to what Keemstar did to you? I think that's something that like we have to acknowledge, right? Like, come on, and that's my problem. My problem isn't the B family calling him out. My problem is like how aggressive and intense they were about calling him a pedophile, a predator, a rapist. So they're going to track him down across all of his platforms. So they're going to like deplatform him. They're going to do the very best that they can to do something. It was like charging somebody for murder when they stole like a candy bar from a store. What he did was wrong. Unfortunately, it's normalized in the space that they're in. And like it needs to stop. And so that's an educational conversation. But to go out of this perspective of like Killick must be like some kind of like a horrible person because of this, it's like, no, this is like a sphere that needs to change. And we know it needs to change. We're looking at what was it? There's a gaming organization that suppressed sexual assault allegations, right? One or two of the people in that like gaming house were sexually assaulted. They suppressed them talking about it. We have like what's going on with like Activision Blizzard right now in that gaming sphere, where a woman killed herself because she dated her boss and then the boss leaked images. We have like a lot of horrible like misogyny tagged with it. And what he did was wrong, but it's a learning moment. It's not like this complete deplatforming moment. And they overreacted and they sent their 10 million followers to bully a kid with 30,000 followers. And like, that's what I'm trying to say. I feel like that message is really getting lost because we're playing like whose side should we stick to. And listen, I understand that like me calling out Def Noodles, it probably came off. I'm a very blunt person, so I can understand the interpretation because I know that about myself, which is why I'm not surprised by this overreaction. I'm a very blunt person and I speak very clearly, and I don't mean like clearly in the sense like I speak clearly, I speak well, I speak fine, but like I speak very bluntly. I just say what I have to say, and so that can be misinterpreted as like hard, like really bad aggression. So I can understand that. But like, man, I really feel like this 17-year-old's getting fucking bullied in like the worst way, because this 15-year-old girl isn't getting bullied for this. We know that because this whole interaction started apparently 8 months ago. The kid's getting like told to kill himself. He's getting called the N-word in his comments, all because he made like a your mama and your sister joke. And like, it's not good to do that. It needs to stop, and we need to have conversations about it. And the B family had, again, every right to call it out. But in the way that they did it, they were just, they completely over-exaggerated. They called him like a rapist and a pedophile, something that you should understand because you were called a pedophile by Keemstar. Now,
just to be absolutely clear, a take is an opinion. Keemstar published absolutely false information and made it look like news. So sorry, you dumb fuck. It's not a take. It's slander. YouTube streamer with 25,000 subscribers who made some very inappropriate and vulgar comments about their 15-year-old daughter after playing a Roblox game with their 16-year-old son. This is what they had to say.
So the first thing I want to say right off the bat is that it feels very intentional that he didn't add the age of the person that said the particular. So I know what he's going to say is that he waits a little bit later and then finally gives out the age. But this is something. So this is what Def Noodles did. I'm just more aware of it. So he gave the age of the sister. then the brother, which was 16. Then he went through the scenario of what happened. Then a little bit later on, he says, yeah, they said he was 19, but he's actually 17. This is like priming information. So it's a real thing. And I don't know if he like intentionally did this, but it's probably something that it does slightly sensationalize the story, where you give the ages after you say the story so that you can prime the emotion and then you can engage people and doubling down on the original perspective that they had. Like, it actually is a very real thing. They move the goalpost. If we said, like, yeah, the sister was 15, the brother was 16, and then the Killick was 17, and then we give the information, you have like a clear and concise like what happened before it happens. But then when you give it to somebody after the fact, you've already primed them to have a particular emotion of like, oh wow, what a bad person. And then when you say, well, they were actually only 17 after the fact, all of a sudden it's like, well, it doesn't matter, I'm going to double down on my original perspective. And this is like a psychological thing that people go through. And this is what I was calling out. That's pretty much it. So I'm sure he's gonna say like a curse word. He's gonna say fuck. Particular thing. You dumb fuck.
Now, folks, if this absolute fucking moron of a human being had allowed the video to play for just a few more seconds instead of pausing it so he can pontificate to himself and jerk himself off with how intelligent he feels like he is.
I don't understand that, bro. It's such a weird insult to say, like, this guy thinks he's so smart. You think I'm smart, and then you're trying to say that. I don't really think I'm that smart, bro. I sit on camera, I talk about farts, piss, and poop. I flex my fat muscles. Like, I don't even have muscles. I just flex my fat. Like, I jiggle my stomach. I twerk all the time. I don't think I'm that smart. And then people are like, bro, this guy thinks he's so smart. Not really. I don't really think I'm that smart. I think I'm like a pretty... honestly, I genuinely feel like I'm just like a normal guy with like fucking common sense that is just lost from this platform. That's it. That's the whole thing, bro. And somehow that comes off as intelligence, and then you guys are like, you think you're so smart? No, not really, bro. I dropped out of high school, dog. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh shit, I can't even cough the right way. I'm fucking dying, bro. Dying of my beaties.
He would have heard that I literally mentioned the guy's age seconds later.
This person
Yeah, man, I get it. It's like, it's a priming situation. I already went over it.
is 19 years old, so he is considered an adult. Our daughter is 15 years old. She is a minor.
Now, we later find out that the streamer is actually 17. The family ends up correcting themselves later on in a separate video. However,
which is incredibly relevant because they tried to talk about how he was a
folks, is this guy trying to score intellectual points so hard that he is
I don't know what you're talking about, bro. I don't know what intellectual point. What?
Literally making the most low IQ observations, because he just said that me stating that his age is 17 is relevant.
Well, yeah, because they were saying he was 19, and they maintained the pedophile energy even into the second video where they called him a grown man. Come on, man. This is a little bad faith, brother. This is a little bad faith, brother.
Does he not understand that information that makes it into the video is usually relevant information to the story?
Sorry, Def Noodles, I don't want you, so I guess I didn't know that.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the video. I mean, talk about stating the fucking obvious here. Jeez.
Well, the thing is that you didn't give any you didn't make any reference at all. You didn't make any point at all that what they were doing was wrong for calling him a pedophile and a predator. That's the problem. You never made that statement. You completely aligned with what they were saying, and then you didn't give any, like, you're like, hey, listen, you could have been like, hey, listen, I understand well why they're upset. They have every right to be, but I think that they're saying that he's a pedophile and a predator is going too far. That would have been great. That's where, like, your video misses the mark, man. Like, you don't contextualize the situation, brother. You just say that, like, he's in the wrong, and then anytime they might have done something wrong, you ignore talking about it, and that's what makes it so dishonest, and I'm sorry.
The words that he's uttering will have some kind of effect on this 15-year-old girl.
Probably not. It wouldn't have an effect on the 15-year-old girl if the brother didn't go running to the mom and dad and cry about it, to be honest with you. It really wouldn't have. And, like, bro, I don't know how many people, like, dude, it's so difficult to communicate because Twitter and YouTube and TikTok and are it's full of the morality of children. Like, bro, listen, let me try to communicate this in the way. It's not really going to bother any normal girl. Isn't going to be like, oh my God, and start crying. They're going to be annoyed. But, like, unfortunately, this is a normalized process and it needs to be not normalized. But she cried. No, she didn't. It was fake. And if that was a real crying, I feel so bad for how sheltered that girl was, to the point where, like, she is completely a weak individual. But bro, come on. Like, do you really think it's an appropriate thing to cry after your brother gets in a toxic altercation on Roblox and then he says, "Oh, your sister's a porn star"? Do you think that that's something that's going to be like truly mentally frustrating? Because the energy that we're getting here, dude, is like, "Oh, she was like raped" energy. And it's like, I don't know, maybe it's because we cover so many actual predators every single day, and we've deplatformed predators before, that we take it, we have a different sense of understanding of this shit. But like, the energy here does not match like the violent sexual assault that we talk about somewhat often on this platform. And maybe that's where I missed the mark. Maybe like I'm so engaged in like actual cases of like sexual assault and having conversations about them that like I'm desensitized to some of these more like something like this, which is a very sensationalized, dramatized framing of sexual assault. It's not sexual assault. Maybe that's my problem. But like, bro, you know, talk to a survivor, I guess, man. I don't know, bro. Just come on. Because I don't think that it really did.
Well, I'm glad that this guy can sit on his fucking high horse and tell us exactly how much a person who he's never met or spoken to, as far as we know, is feeling about this whole situation.
Oh, no, I mean, I was pretty clear in one of the videos.
If you had done your research and watched both of my other videos beforehand,
I wouldn't expect you to watch 3 hours of content, but yeah, man, like I said, like either this is a genuine interpretation and she's incredibly weak in shelters her entire life, which actually makes sense considering she never grew up and had a normal life. She was like she was in like a family vlogging lens, which I'm assuming that like you also probably agree that family vlogging is like really toxic. And so she's been like famous from what, 6 from the get-go. And so she might actually be this weak. And I'm sorry that you're upset with that, but that is a weak thing to have, is to have to cry on camera over this. Bro, stop. Also, as a parent, if I was, you know, I'm not a parent yet, of course, but I am trying. Anyway, if I was a parent, I imagine that if this was so upsetting to her, I wouldn't let her on camera in the first place. But anyway, what's more likely is that this is just a virtue signal. The parents said some dumb shit in their first video, and then they got called on it, and then they decided to make a follow-up video to use her fake tears as a way to make it seem like their situation was valid. But it's not, man. It's not. It's okay to be annoyed and upset, but the way that they went about this was fucking egregious.
The level of cynicism and absolute lack of empathy that he's showing this 15-year-old girl just because she had the gall to go on a video and cry.
And fake cry, yeah.
And talk about her experience being the target of this verbal harassment.
Bro. Come on. I don't know what to say. I feel like if you don't get it, you're just not gonna get it.
It's just the most dismissive thing that I've seen in a long time. I mean, how the fuck does he know what she was feeling? How the fuck does he know anything beyond the video? Seriously, is he in contact with her?
Bro, it's a weird thing. This is the problem here, is like we're just taking everything that she says and the family says at face value, but we're ignoring what Killick is saying. And that's the problem with the situation here. Is like you're gassing up the B family, but you haven't looked at what Killick said. You know, apparently Killick has screenshots of the B kid calling him the N-word. Why isn't that part of it? Oh, apparently he said that. It's not part of there, even though that video was available before you made yours. Why is that the case? Well, because you're going for what the B family's narrative is. Like, it's a very, you know, I looked at this situation and I said, hey, commonsensical, nobody's going to be crying on a fucking camera after somebody tells their brother that you're a porn star in, like, gaming trolling. I don't know what else to say, man. The fact that you think that it's a reasonable reaction to like cry like this after that, it's I don't know. It's kind of sad, bro. I mean, like I've heard stories of people getting violently raped, and like they don't even match the energy that she's giving off. And so like that's the part that upsets me. It feels incredibly invalidating to sexual assault survivors for her to be forcing a reaction that's nowhere near acceptable for her to be having. And this is like where I come from, man. It's just so diminishing. Like, what are we expected to believe? That, like, this is an appropriate reaction to what happened? It's not. It's just not. And so if it's genuine, it's pathetic. And if it's real, I mean, excuse me, but it's more likely that it's not real. And that's just doubling down. And you could be upset about that, man. And I get it. Like, this is the worst of what you see online. But, like, this isn't the worst of what I've seen ever. Like, I didn't start social media until I was, like, 30, bro. The stories that I've heard, the situations that I'm, like, made to understand are horrible and horrific, and this isn't one of them. It's just not, bro. And like, if you don't understand that, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you. It's so sad because this is the thing that gets me upset more than anything else. is like when we talk about like real sexual assault shit, like this is what really gets me upset. Like everybody on the channel knows that that's really what gets me upset. This is not that. And it's an overreaction. And like if we want to get really fucking woke about it, we have a fucking white woman crying over nothing and trying to deplatform a 17-year-old black kid. So like what do you want me to say? Because when you look at it in those terms, you're like, well, race isn't part of this. Okay. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. I felt like it was. The energy that they were giving off was disgusting. And like for somebody, I do engage in like social justice topics. And you want to know what? I've been racist myself in my past. And I've expressed that very openly because like I'm trying to grow as a person. And like I know when somebody's being an intelligent racist. Okay? People know what they should and shouldn't be saying in order to communicate topics when they're racist. You know, we're the days of like, you're an N-word. Those still exist, but that's not how real racists operates. They operate in a way that's like very subconscious and it's very difficult to detect. I can't prove that. I could be wrong, but like a lot of what I heard and a lot of the interpretation of what was going on here felt very much like a targeting of a black kid because they didn't like him because he was black. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but that's the energy that it feels like. And I didn't just start the video like, oh my God, it's another I didn't bring race into it until they started bringing race into it. And I was like, oh, it's uncomfortable. They started stressing that they're like a Latino family. It felt like they were making these like weird comparisons that they can't be racist because they're Hispanic. Excuse me. You know. Anyway, sorry for getting a little too riled up. You know, this is just what I'm trying to communicate, man.
Her and her family? Is he DMing them? Does he personally know them? Or is he just jumping the conclusions so he can make himself look better?
I mean, you can make that argument about you, man. Did you watch Killick's video? No. You didn't watch Killick's video? Don't you think it would have been good to watch Killick's video, the whole thing? I mean, you know, he's a grown man at 19. That part really screamed like, bro, the first video, they said he was a grown, they intentionally, oh, it's so hard, dude. It's such a big deal and it bothers me so much. They made up an age for this kid. I don't care if their little dumb fuck kid said he's 19. He lied. And Twitter had his age. And their Instagram had his age in one of his posts. He had like 10 posts. All they had to do was look through it. And they could have saw that he was 17. It feels so incredibly intentional that It's something that's like a sticking point for me that's really sticking out. It's really hitting me. It's so intentional that they lied about his age to try to make it seem like he's a pedophile. And then in the follow-up video where they knew he wasn't 17, they called him a grown man. Like these are oh, bro, I can't. I'm so frustrating. I'm getting very frustrated. These are the things, man. These are the things that like racists do to like young black kids. I hate that we're bringing it into a fucking race, but this is the shit that they fucking do. They mature black boys, young black men, like young fucking kids. They mature them so that they can look a fucking adult. My understanding is like you're 8 times more likely to be fucking like tried as an adult as a black kid. It's fucking insane. Sorry if that's the wrong statistic. It's definitely higher. I don't remember the specifics, but it's like all these things and like, you know, God bless you, man. You're doing your thing on like your drama shit, and I get it. That's totally cool. There's definitely a place for that. But like this, I'm not a drama YouTuber so much. I do cover it, but I try to bring like we like, you know, over the past 2 years, over the past 5 years. 5 years has been like the most education that I've ever done. Like really trying to educate myself on like tons of social topics, getting it wrong so many times. You know, like how many times I had to be corrected for being a dumb fuck, for saying stupid shit. I had like a really great like friend. His name's Blackboard451. Stop memeing me because I know I talk about him a lot in there from TikTok. And this guy like, and like there's so many trials and errors of like trying to understand, and I'm still not there. We still don't understand. But we're like getting so close to understanding. And like at 5 years of all this different experience, not just as a content creator, but before that, like educating myself on politics and social issues. And this is where we are, man. This is where we are. And like now I'm like, bro, I can't, it just feels so targeted. It feels so targeted. And like, I feel like it's so easy the position that Def Noodles is taking, and I get it. And I'm not saying he's taking the easy one because it's easy. It's just like one of those things, man, where like, this is one of the, if I wanted to just like make a lot of money, I know how to fucking bullshit and pander to people. And I don't think Def Noodles does that, but I try my best to say what I feel, even if I'm wrong. And I try to correct myself if I'm wrong. And in this is one of those cases where I know that I'm correct. I'm sorry for being insensitive, but like, bro, maybe I'm too honed in on this like black fucking kid getting shit on. And I don't know, man. Like, I just try to listen, please. Please, just try to listen to what I'm saying, bro. I'm not like, you know what I'm saying? Like, try to just listen instead of like react. I don't want like any like, let's jump on and like, I mean, I don't want a back and forth insane fucking thing. Like, that's why I'm not trying to sit here and just shit on Def Noodles, because like I don't think that he's like a malicious guy. And maybe my first video was like too hard on him, so I'm like really sorry. I really am sorry. Okay, I'll say I'm sorry if I went too hard on you and I came off too blunt and aggressive. But like, I'm really trying here, man, to communicate something I feel like is so necessary to communicate, bro. I'm really just trying. Like, I want you to at least listen to that. And if you feel the need to respond, maybe like wait a couple days and like think about what I'm trying to say. Because I'm not even saying that they're actively racist, but like, bro, race is just such a fucking... It's like these implicit biases are insane. They really are very intrusive, and they invade your thoughts, and they make you feel like a little thing, and like, you know, man, I don't know. I'm just trying to communicate that to you, brother. I hope that you at least listen to what I'm saying. Just think about it. You know what I mean? Just think about what I'm trying to say. So I'm like, you know, maybe the problem is that I'm identifying so much more with Akilic that I'm being invalidating of the B kid. The Gabriella, maybe that's the problem, and I'm sorry for that if that's the truth. But the reality is like, this is a very sensationalized, exaggerated position the B family's taking, and some of it feels racially motivated.
Those effects could even be people in his audience going over to her social media and harassing her.
I mean, he's been getting countless death threats for them calling him in a file. Don't you think that maybe we should be calling out that behavior because he's getting harassed?
Yeah, call it out. I don't agree with harassment of any sort, whether it's the person who directs...
Yeah, man, but you didn't really call it out, and that's one of the problems. It's like, it's good to be like, yeah, we should call that, and I think that's great, but like, did you? Or did you lean very heavily into the side of the B family? And that's the question. Because if I hadn't made this, would you have been prompted to be like, yeah, you know what, that's a good point? Probably not. At this point, like, it just, you know, you removed that from the video. You didn't watch Killick's videos.
Directed harassment is someone else, or it's the person who's getting harassed. I don't think anybody should be harassed for any fucking reason. That's been...
Well, let's not go that far. Some people deserve to be harassed. If you're actually like a pedophile or like a predator or a rapist, then you deserve harassment. I think Def Noodles and I can agree on that. But yeah. Some people do deserve harassment. Let's be honest, guys. I don't think Killick or Gabrielle B deserve it. Or Def Noodles. You know, maybe I deserve it. It's funny to me, so I don't really care. I'm only saying that because I know I know you guys on the stream are like fucking going ballistic. I just, you know.
My stance on this channel, and if you watched my content, you would fucking know.
It's a little bizarre that we're not... I hope that, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll show that in here. Calling out the potential suicide of a 17-year-old.
Whoa, wait a damn minute. Where did that even come from?
Wait a minute. So the next jump cut should have been you saying in that video that people are harassing Killick as well and he doesn't deserve it. But we went on to talk about this.
This guy's really jumping to fucking conclusions, folks, especially when you consider that he's literally making this shit up, because while the 17-year-old is experiencing harassment, which he shouldn't, let's be real.
Well, it'd be good if you mentioned that in the core video, but you didn't. Okay.
Nobody should be experiencing harassment in any end of this situation, but he recently published a video talking about his mental health, and this is what he says.
The death threats and stuff like that don't really faze me.
So what video is that? I'd really like to know, because I'm going to assume that that video came out. So there's two options. Either that video came out after what I had said, but it's not possible. It came out before what I said. Okay. So why did you watch this video after? I don't know, man. I'm sorry that I made an assumption that somebody being called the N-word and told to kill himself over and over again would make them upset. But it's much more likely that you'd get upset from that behavior than from the behavior that Killick went on to do. Especially since she wasn't getting any DMs. She wasn't getting any harassment. And if she was, it was after they released their video. So that doesn't make it right. But the point that I'm trying to make is that the harassment wouldn't have happened unless they made the video. But he was getting bombarded with like a million times more harassment. I'm sorry, brother.
That's why I just like skim through those.
Wow, sounds like that 17-year-old is dealing with this harassment, which he should not be getting pretty well. Wonder why this dumb fuck is pushing this false narrative.
It wasn't really a false narrative. I made like a reasonable assumption. I'm sorry. Okay. It's a little bizarre that we're not calling out the potential suicide of a 17-year-old. Yeah, man. Like, you want to talk about the mental health, like the mental health of a person.
Wait, let's check back with the 17-year-old kid. Let's see what else he has to say about his mental health since this guy's doubling down on this shit.
Yeah, my mental health is pretty fine.
Well, I'm not really doubling down because I didn't get criticized for it yet, so you can't really say that I'm doubling down. I made an assertion that was wrong, so sorry for that. And now, if I was sitting here saying, no, then I would be doubling. You kind of used that wrong.
I am doing pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
First off, I'm
That's
glad
good.
the 17-year-old is doing mentally good. Second, I'm glad the 17-year-old sharing with us that he's doing mentally good exposed this absolute dumb fuck's bullshit false narrative. However, folks, the most ironic thing about
It's so weird, man, because I don't know. Did I show bad faith in the video? Did I make like unreasonable assumptions about Def Noodles in like the worst way? Because then I guess I do deserve it. You know what I'm saying? Because he's bad faithing the fuck out of me. But maybe I don't really remember my video. Did I bad faith him in the video? Like, is it deserved? Maybe it's a little deserved. Maybe I bad faithed him a little bit. You don't think I did? Well, they're saying I didn't bad faith you, but you're also my fan, so you guys will lie to me. I feel like I didn't bad faith you, brother. You know, like you literally didn't bring him up, his side of the story really at all in the original video. I'm just saying, bro. But okay.
this absolute dumb fuck's video is the fact that he keeps talking about how everybody else is sensationalizing this entire situation.
It feels like we're starting. It feels like we're starting the. Oh, he watched a little bit of the video. The sensationalization of this situation right off the bat.
This guy, folks, keeps accusing everyone else of sensationalizing this situation, and yet he's the one who just falsely claimed that the 17-year-old involved in this whole thing is thinking of unaliving himself.
Okay, so first of all, fair criticism. Second of all, really quick question. Do you think that they weren't sensationalizing it? Because that's an important question to ask. Because, again, we have this situation where a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old were engaging in Roblox drama back and forth. It was shown to be back and forth, and Killick took it too far and said his mom was hot and he wanted to be his stepdad, and that the dad, and that the sister's a porn star that gets gangbanged. Inappropriate, needs to stop. Been calling that out from the start. Probably the first thing I said about that video. But they called him a rapist, a pedophile, and a predator. And so far, you haven't really affirmed a criticism on the B family. You haven't said, you know what? That is sensationalization from the B family. You said that I'm sensationalizing, which is it's just totally fair. That's totally fair. But so are you going to admit that they were sensationalizing as well? Or are you going to just continuously try to like make this look like I'm wrong, but they're not wrong? And that's the problem. Like it's an incredible focus on how I'm wrong, but there's no focus on how the B family is wrong for sensationalizing it, unless you believe that it's like reasonable for them to call him a pedophile, a rapist, and a predator. And you want to know what? The fact that they sensationalize it from the jump is one of the reasons why I don't think that her crying was genuine, because the framing from the beginning is he's a rapist, pedophile, predator. And then we get to the crying. It's like at that point, we called him a rapist, a pedophile, a predator. We enforced that a minor was an adult over and over again. We intentionally changed the age to 19. There was no logical way that could happen. And then we doubled down and called him a grown man after we knew he was 17. That's what the B family did, not we, the B family. That whole framing carries up to a white girl crying. Yes, that's why I don't care that she cried. Because the entire framing is so dishonest and so bad faith that like there's no reasonable way, like assumption to be like, oh, her crying is just a way to emotionally invoke us. But she called him a rapist, a pedophile, and a predator. The family did. So you don't think that framing sets them up for bad faith to not take their word for it? I do, man. That's why. That's what it is. And like again, you're still not really like, you're very into going after me, a small channel, you know, smaller than you, which is fine. I don't care. I think it's fun. But, like, you're not going after the B family. Are you, like, afraid of the B family? Like, because you could have been like, he did a bad thing, but I think they overreacted. Would have been a great video. We wouldn't be here right now. But you didn't, and you're still not saying that the B family overreacted.
Talk about complete lack of self-awareness and absolute intellectual dishonesty. He's not saying this under the context of a joke or anything similar. He is
well, yeah, he is. He's trolling. Trolling is a dumb joke for edgy little fuckfaces. Like that's what a troll is. So I don't know what you're saying. But here we go. We're gonna keep dabbing while this Def Noodles says what he wants to say. What? What do you mean he's not saying? Like, no. Did you think that? Do you actually think that Killick thinks that the sister's a porn star? That's a crazy take, brother. I literally is saying it under the context. Do you think that he unironically thinks a 15-year-old girl is a fucking porn star?
This guy has to be a fucking moron, folks.
I don't understand, bro. I don't understand, dude. You can't even defend this take. Trolling is a dumb joke for edgy little shitlords to do. Sorry, but like I don't know what you want. It is under the context of a joke. What do you want me to fucking tell you? This is just dumb. Your interpretation here is very dishonest, bro.
Because he clearly doesn't know the difference between a joke, which traditionally has setup and punchline.
There's a setup and a punchline. That means that you have to like the joke. The joke can be terrible dog shit, which it was, but it still makes it a joke. Jokes are like there's a level of intention there. So like if you're not, so now we're just like pretending that the word. Let's calm down. Let's not get too heated here. But right now, you have to realize what you're doing is you're pretending that like a joke, unfortunately, doesn't need to be funny. You can make bad jokes, okay? Like me, I'm a bad joke, right? Okay. I don't like this like well if it has to be a joke, it has to have a setup and a punchline. And it's like this weird this whole weird idea that like jokes have to be very like specifically framed. I don't know. It was a joke. It was a bad one. Trolling is a joke. It's a bunch of kids that pretend that they're dumb all the time. I don't know what you want me to tell you.
Line versus somebody saying mean shit to just hurt someone's feelings. But
yeah, well, he was trying to hurt the brother's feelings because the brother was rating him. But, which, by the way, is against TOS. Call that out, brother.
By the way, let's give this dumb fuck the benefit of the doubt, and let's see what the 17-year-old kid actually said in the video, and whether it's a joke or not.
Your sister, this don't change. The sister still getting, yes, bro. Your sister, Gabriella B, is still getting pouted. Like,
bro, you could have turned it down so loud.
Like, balls deep, get a dick down. Like, she's getting balls in her jaw. Like your mama getting smacked.
Clearly,
that's what we call it. It's an edgy little fucklord joke, brother. I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what to tell you, man. So a thing that someone says to cause amusement or laughter, especially a story with a funny punchline, especially doesn't mean always. He thought that this was funny and amusing. It's not, but that's what he thought, man. I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, I feel like we're just engaging in like the weirdest gaslighting at this point. I'm fucking confused, bro. I'm just so confused. Like, this is not a joke. Come on, man. It's a bad joke. Still a joke. Right, this is action versus intention. The intention was to make a joke and upset the B brother. It just wasn't funny. You thinking a joke's not funny doesn't mean it's not a joke, right? We also look at the intentions behind the joke, and he's intending to upset the brother that was upsetting him. Sorry, brother.
Dumb fuck doesn't know the difference between telling a joke and just saying something mean to hurt someone's feelings. In that case, since he obviously thinks that saying
let me hear your joke, Def Noodles.
Mean shit equals funny.
I didn't say it was funny, but okay.
Gotta wonder why he finds abuse humorous.
What? What do you mean? Wait, what? What the fuck? Okay, let's see. What did I say? How is it not a joke? I don't understand. Like, it's not a good... Oh my God, I find abuse humorous. Jesus Christ. Only when I beat my wife. Probably shouldn't have made that joke at that point, but hey, listen. We're here for the fucking lulz, bro. Okay. Joke.
The fact this guy kept doubling down that these sexual comments the 17-year-old was making about a 15-year-old were jokes.
Yeah, I mean, because they are. It's just an objective truth. I'm sorry, brother. But, yeah, they were just bad jokes. I think the problem here is that you think that if someone finds if they find it funny, that makes it like a joke, Like, I have to find jokes funny to understand that they're jokes. Like I feel like we've already covered the very baseline perspective that like comedy is subjective. Okay. And like not everybody enjoys everybody else's humor. I didn't enjoy his humor. I thought it was gross. I said that probably like 1,000 times. And that's the problem. Def Noodles, bro. It's like you're intentionally miss every singular time. Like we know that at the beginning of my video, I always do a rundown. And I said what he did was it was inappropriate and it should have never happened. And you know that that's my stance, but you ignored that and you just looked for things to double down on your take on the video. And that's why it's like incredibly disingenuous. Even from the jump, incel slanders B family. I'm not slandering them. I'm defending a kid from a family of fucking idiots. And like I quite literally am not I am an incel now because I'm married. So I decided that I would never have sex. I'm just kidding. My wife and I have a very healthy relationship. But like it's just a weird thing, like incel. Like, that's going right off the bat of like how can I diminish this guy's character instead of having an honest conversation about what he said? It's just I don't know, man. This is like really disappointing, honestly, bro. Because like I actually kind of like the Def Noodles. I used to follow him on Twitter. I think I got banned because of maybe Keemstar. I don't know. I can't wait for the annoying Keemstar DM fucking bitching about what I said here, and I'll just ignore it like I did the last one. But you know, maybe, I mean, like, you know, he was like, oh, cool, he has some like drama news, some stuff like that. I didn't like watch his content, but I would watch through his Twitter. I didn't think he was a bad guy. I thought he was pretty cool. This is a little souring. It's a little upsetting. It's a little souring, man. Not that you disagree, but just like how bad faith that this is. So okay. Let me see.
Has to be the most pathetic fucking reach I've ever seen in my entire life. Look, folks, people can say mean shit and still feel the same amount of joy that somebody feels when they hear and laugh at a joke. Reason why is because there are some people out there who genuinely enjoy putting other people down and making them feel bad. It's a sadistic feeling.
Are you saying that that's Killick? Are you saying that Killick enjoys that? I feel like that's just such a rough take, man, because like the brother and him were engaged in like this back and forth with shitting on each other.
That a lot of people have. However, it doesn't mean that just because they're feeling joy and feeling like they're acting funny, that it's actually a joke and funny. I don't know why.
Okay, I mean, but it was clearly like a joke. Just not a good one.
I have to explain this, folks, but I just feel like most people on the internet have a very loose interpretation for what a joke is, and they completely forget.
I just showed you the definition, and it aligned with that. But hey, check this out.
The jokes need setup and punchline. They need
They don't necessarily need that. The setup is your sister's a porn star, and that's also the punchline, I guess. I feel like we're really engaging in like these really small aspects that don't matter to the story of like what's going on with the B family. They are overly sensationalizing and trying to deplatform this fucking kid, intentionally lying about his age, calling him a rapist and a predator, and it's a really fucked up thing. I don't know what to tell you, brother. That's the biggest issue out of anything else.
reversal of expectations. They need some sort of irony. It's not because you're just saying some egregiously mean shit to someone that
is this the whole thing? Like, this is like most of your video, bro. You really took this personally, brother.
it's supposed to be funny.
We don't know what this kid said. Apparently, by the way, their screenshot said that maybe the brother reached out to him and called him the N-word. Don't really know if it's verifiable. Don't know if it's true.
Wait a damn minute. You're just going to throw out such a huge accusation like...
Yeah, I saw the screenshot. So this is one of those things where, like, this is, like, bro...
that without any fucking evidence to support it.
So there's literally the screenshot. You can look through his video for it, and I saw it. The reason I said it's not verifiable is to not be irresponsible. There is a screenshot of the claim that it was the B brothers calling him the N-word. The reason I'm not saying that this is a fact is because I'm not sensationalizing it, and it's possible that somebody gave Killick false information, or even that Killick is lying. I'm making sure to be accurate. Now, I personally believe it because it doesn't strike me as bizarre, because edgy white kids on the internet are shitty. The reason I'm saying that is because, for context, it's something that needs to be brought up. He made that claim. But I'm not only making I'm saying the claim again and saying, like, hey, we cannot prove it, but it's something to throw out there. I don't know what you want me to tell you, brother. Like, most people would have said, like, oh, apparently this happened. They could have moved on, which seems to be something that you may do. But I was like, this is a claim. It's not verifiable, so let's not jump off the deep end. I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm being very contextually accurate, brother.
And then end it by saying, yeah, I don't know if it's true, and then move on like nothing fucking happened.
Yeah, well, what energy am I supposed to maintain? If like how am I supposed to interact afterwards? Do I pretend that it's 100% verifiably true? What you're saying doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever, bro. This is what I'm talking about. You think I'm such a smart guy by saying, you think you're so smart. That's you projecting onto me. I don't, bro. It's just normal common sense. There's a claim here. There's a screenshot. I would hope you saw it if you actually watched the video instead of just sniping for clips to reinforce your perspective. And then, like, I just can't verify it. I'm just not going to verify it. I'm not going to say it has to be true. I said, like, we need to see, like, it has to be, like, objectively, verifiably true. It's such an interesting thing that you're running past this N-word shit, but, like, you don't give a you're talking about that, but you don't give a fuck that he's been calling a rapist and a predator. You didn't even denounce that narrative. You didn't even denounce that narrative. It's just crazy, bro. It's just, it's so sad, dude. This is so sad.
Are you kidding me? That's really fucked up.
If it takes this to show
It was so loud.
you what it really does to people, then I will show my true emotions.
The video itself is incredibly difficult to watch.
Oh, Monsters Inc. is coming. No, it's not. It's funny to watch. It's funny. It's funny. It's funny because you have this. Listen, we're going to pull out the paint. Here we go. Here we go, guys. This is why it's so funny to me, and why it's not honest that she's crying, because she's being dishonest. Most reasonable assumption. You have Killick, right? Okay. You have a kid here. You have Killick right here. Trolling. Shitty stuff. Bad things. Sexualizing the kid. Really bad. 17 to 15. So it's bad. Needs to be called out, but it's not pedophilish. Pedophilic? You have the B family calling intentionally misrepresenting his age to be 19, calling him a rapist, a predator, and a pedophile. Right? Rapist, a predator, and a pedophile. This is what you have. Then they have their follow-up video where they acknowledge he's not 17, but they call him a grown man. They still call him a grown man. And then you have a fucking white girl crying. I don't give a fuck that she's crying. Do you not see how this setup here shows how dishonest they are about their interpretation of the entire situation? They called him a pedophile, a rapist, and a predator. That's what they said about him. And you're like, her crying is valid. Why is it valid? Explain to me how the perception of these people thinking that this situation is him being a predator, a pedophile, and a fucking rapist. Explain to me how that is a proper interpretation that would allow them to have the reaction of crying. It doesn't. So even if it's genuine, it's bullshit, because their entire pretext to the entire thing is so pathetic and disgusting, and it's weaponizing social narratives like rape, pedophilia, and fucking predatory fucking interactions. It is weaponizing that, and then you end it with a white girl crying. I don't care if it's genuine. It's pathetic, but it's most likely not genuine. I don't know how this doesn't make sense to people. Horrible framing to cry, to double down after they felt like they got caught. I don't know what to tell you. I don't care. I have no empathy for this fucking kid crying. It doesn't matter to me. And I'm going to double down on that because I'm right. I'm sorry. They're fake tears, most likely. And if they're not, that's embarrassing because they tried to deplatform a fucking 17-year-old and they called him again. I have to reinforce this because you still haven't acknowledged that he isn't a rapist, a pedophile, and a predator, which should have been acknowledged in the beginning of the video when you started talking about it. I'm going to keep reinforcing it. I'm sorry that it upsets you. Like, my best faith interpretation is that you got upset because you saw a girl crying and you believed her. And, like, I get that. That's fair. I understand. But, like, I'm looking past the tears to, like, what actually happened in this situation. Funny watch.
Yes, folks. Nothing like laughing at the tears of a 15-year-old girl. How could I have forgotten? This guy finds abuse hilarious.
Yes, see, now there's like this narrative of like abuse is funny, abuse is funny, abuse is funny, bro. This is like really bad. I mean, again, man, like how is this different from Keemstar calling you a pedophile with no foundation? You're calling me an abuser without any foundation, other than like really dishonest interpretation of what I'm saying. Ridiculous. Are you kidding me? Not everything is a difficult watch. Like, should be the most plain example of just over-sensationalized bullshit, but we don't call it out.
Now,
yeah, it was pretty intense, but yeah, it is.
Folks, as far as sensationalization goes, we should definitely take this guy's word for it. After all, he is the one who literally falsely claimed that somebody involved in this situation was thinking of unaliving themselves, and then moments later claimed that another person involved in this situation said the N-word without any evidence, and then literally walked it back immediately, saying, hey, I don't know if it's true.
That's not walking it back. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Dude, this is really dishonest, bro. This is such like a dishonest thing, man. I said that there was a claim, and then I said, but it's not verifiable. I'm just being contextually accurate, brother. I don't know what else to tell you, man. This is like really sad stuff, dude. This is like really sad. Like this is kind of sad, man. It's just fucking, I don't know, man. This is just sad stuff, bro. Either that's fucking absolute bullshit, or she's actually that weak and sensitive that she cried about this.
Hey, nice job dunking on a 15-year-old girl for crying about shit people are saying about her on the internet.
I'm more talking about the mother and the father. So sorry if I went too hard on like the girl, but it's the mother and the father's fault ultimately for all this stuff, because I don't doubt that they coached her into crying for views and attention, man.
Hope that helps you sleep better at night.
Do you think that this was like a particularly traumatic event? No, this wasn't a traumatic event.
Thank goodness we have this
It's not a traumatic event, bro.
Doctor over here, folks, who can tell us exactly how a 15-year-old girl would react in a situation like this and whether they are traumatized or not. just by watching all this shit through a screen. And
I just want you guys to understand something. This is one of the, it's a very difficult thing to communicate, but I'm going to try to, I think I can communicate to this to you guys. Any given situation can be made to seem like a good or a bad thing for the most part. Okay? I want you to understand that, right? So the most logical, commonsensical perspective is that like she is completely full of shit. Because we look at them completely, again, they called him a rapist, a predator, and a pedophile for trolling over the internet. It's inappropriate behavior, needs to be called out. And now they're making the assertion. And then they said that he was a 19-year-old adult, which wasn't true. They made that up. We can only assume it's intentional. And then, when they found out he was 17, they continuously called him a grown man. We have a horrible dog shit framing. And then the daughter fake cries. What Def Noodles is saying, like, oh, well, you really don't know. I can say that about anything. Hey, guess what? It's a really good thing that we throw trash on the street because then it doesn't go to a landfill. You see how I can look at any situation? It's like, well, I think it's okay to steal from fucking Walmart because like they well, maybe it is. I don't know. But we can make good assumptions. Like, yeah, it's okay to break into rich people's cars or people's cars that have more money than us because, you know, we're poor. You know, we can make anything seem like a good thing, you know? Stealing from Walmart might be good. I don't know. But, like, you know, this is one of those things. It's possible that this young girl is so weak mentally that this traumatized her. And I'm sorry, that's embarrassing. But the reasonable assumption, based on all the context we have, is that she's full of shit. And it's because the parents are channeling all this, like, energy. They're forcing her, they're scripting her into saying this stuff. You know? I'm just saying, bro. And like it's a very weird thing that your whole defense is just so disconnected from reality, man. It's just so disconnected, bro. It's so sad. It's so sad, bro. You know, it would be nice to sit down and have like a really nice conversation, like a good faith conversation about this situation. That would be really nice. I don't think that Def Noodles would take it. I'm not like a debate bro. I don't go, ugh. Like, I would just start from the beginning and like we could lay out the facts as they are, and then like we could have like a nice. I just don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think that Def Noodles is gonna. The reason I don't think. I mean, like the guy poisoned the fuck out of the well here. Like, you know, I don't think that he would genuinely sit down and have the conversation. You know, man, it's something else, bro. It's something else.
anyway, folks, you want to know the greatest irony of this whole situation? It's that he titled his video Def Noodles Bad Take on the B Family.
I did. That's probably what upset him. I said it was a bad take because it is a really bad take.
And yet, he literally agreed with my main points. One of my main points is that harassment is never justified and she should not have been harassed in this situation. And
I didn't really agree with you completely, bro. Come on, man. I didn't agree with your main points. This is so, bro. It's very difficult to not get like angry at this because this is like so bad faith, bro. I don't agree with your main points, man. It was an accurate title. Your main points of you shouldn't harass people, but you didn't call the B family out at all for sensationalizing the story. You're wrong. I'm sorry. But like this is bad, bro.
Guess what he literally said at the beginning of the fucking video?
Either way, you shouldn't be talking or sexualizing a girl's body or anybody's body. You shouldn't be saying inappropriate comments.
Later on, folks, I speculate on what could be the possible outcome for this situation, and I say that it will most likely be a community guideline strike. And guess who agreed? At this point, it doesn't seem like anything has happened to this streamer. He may end up getting a community guideline strike, but
good. It's interesting that like you frame these as somehow me nay-naying myself. But my video is just trying to be as honest as possible. So you proved with the end of this that, like, I'm not just trying to go after you to go after you. I'm trying to be as contextually accurate as possible. But you didn't criticize the B family at all for the horrible shit that they did to this kid, which is worse than what he did. Two grown adults calling a 17-year-old boy a rapist, a pedophile, and a predator, saying that he's 19 with no other conceivable explanation other than they intentionally mislabeled him as older than he was to deplatform him. And the reason why I think it was intentional is because even after they acknowledged he was only 17, in their next video, they followed up by saying he's a grown man. This is a very important point. You didn't call any of that out. That's the really big problem. You didn't call out the fact that they said that they're going to chase him. They're going to chase him to every other platform if he gets banned. I don't know what to say, bro.
We'll have to wait and find.
That's all he really deserves.
And guess what actually happened?
Community guidelines. His videos were pulled down, I believe. Like, he showed them, which is good. That's good.
At the end of the day, this whole situation is just absolutely hilarious to me, folks, because the fact that this guy chose to title his video what he titled it, only to go on and agree with me numerous times throughout his video.
This is a really weird thing to, like, frame it as, like, your video's all over the place. What you're actually saying, what people are, this is what we talk about priming, remember? If he mentioned, this is perfect. If he mentioned that I agreed along a lot of the stuff in the beginning of the video and then went on to the criticism, people wouldn't immediately be like, oh, he's fucking wrong. But he started out with all the disagreeable things. He primed his audience to think that, like, I'm wrong about everything. And then he gets to the end and says, well, we did agree on stuff, but now since it's at the end, I can make it seem like he's being hypocritical. This is what I was talking about when it comes to priming. Same thing he did with the ages in the beginning. Same thing he's doing in this situation as well. It's really dishonest, bro. It's gross. Me acknowledging when I feel you're right and then acknowledging when I feel you're wrong is not me being hypocritical. It's me being as unbiased as possible. You've somehow managed to, like, frame it in the worst way. And, that's really just sad, bro. Listen, I would genuinely take a step back and really, like, reconsider what you're doing. Because, like, what you're doing is like, here's the thing, whether you want to acknowledge this or not, what you're doing is going to make you a bad content creator moving forward. Because I'm just going to absorb this hatred. I sat here. I did my best to not be as emotionally provocative or upset as possible, because I understand that I'm a very blunt person and that I understand why he might be mad. I think it's reasonable, even if I disagree with it, that he's upset that I invalidated the girls crying. Because when you put it into the perspective that I gave, which I believe is the correct perspective, that they're intentionally trying to deplatform this kid and make him seem like a predator, you understand why I don't give a fuck about her crying. However, a lot of people tend to, like, react to the people crying. Then they go like, oh my God, they're crying, so they must be right. I get it. It's a very normal reaction. That's what used to get black kids hanged back in the day. So, like, I'm not trying to be a fucking asshole here. Again, there seems to be a lot of subtextual race arguments here. And, like, that's the thing that I'm focusing on more. The intentional, like, misinformation and et cetera, et cetera. So I understand why he might have been emotionally provoked by what I said. I get it. I'm trying to be as good faith as possible here. Because I don't want to believe that Def Noodles is a bad person. Because I really don't think that he is. I really don't think that he is. I think that would be fucking insane. I've met bad people before. Glenn and Cameron's are the bad people. All this energy that, like, his audience and my audience are generating is better generated by true predators. But we're so, like, we're so, bro, we're all so used to the drama online and just shitting on each other in an inaccurate way over and over and over again. I'm not going to be part of it. And even to, like, my own fans, they're like, I hate Def Noodles. Just stop. Because, like, just we don't want to, like, maintain this horrible energy. Because I'm just not going to be part of it, bro. I talked about this because I felt like it was a real problem. That's why I talked about this, because this is, like, a really big problem. Like, this kid's getting fucked right now. You know? That's the whole thing. I fucking, that's why. I even said in the beginning why I'm talking about it so much. You know? So, like, that's my main concern. I don't care about, like, the throwing back and forth. Hopefully Def Noodles watches this and says, like, okay, maybe he'll get it, maybe he won't. I don't know, man. Let's hope, bro. But
and then go further to share false information. It's just a level of irony that you really just can't write. Actually, folks, I take that back. There is something more hilarious than that. Keemstar allegedly took down the latest episode of my podcast, which, guess what, was about him and his girlfriend assistant. You see, folks, around 7 p.m. Pacific time yesterday, I got an email from YouTube telling me that the episode had been taken down for minor
child safety.
Minor safety. Now, bear in mind, there are no minors in the video whatsoever.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. I can't verify that it was Keemstar. But seems reasonable. Keemstar does some weird shit. I mean, honestly. The guy's very sensitive. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, listen, man. At the end of this whole thing, I don't know what to tell you, bro. like it's a little frustrating because just like the interpretation was like incredibly bad faith. I felt like I did a lot more. I felt like I did. That's actually funny. If Keemstar did do it, that's Keemstar calling his girlfriend a minor. That's funny. Okay. Sorry. Like I was saying, I'm disappointed in the interpretation. I had higher hopes and expectations of Def Noodles. I guess maybe I'm sorry that I came off so blunt, but like I felt like I did as good of a faith of an interpretation as possible. This whole video focused on the areas where that he felt I was wrong, didn't address the true core issue, which was the sensationalization of the B family against this kid. I think it was really dishonest. I think it was kind of shitty. I think it was very shitty. And like, hopefully, maybe he'll actually watch this time with the intent of listening instead of watching with the intent of trying to counter what I'm saying, because those are two very different things. And you just failed emphatically at doing the right thing here. I'm sorry, bro. And that's just the truth. I don't think that I'm a super smart guy. I think that people interpret my common sense as intelligence. I'm not that smart, bro. The fact that every time, like, it's funny when you guys go, you think you're so smart. I don't. You do, and you're projecting onto me. It's like, I think I'm so smart, bro. I don't, bro. I just don't. I don't know what to tell you, bro. I don't know what to tell you. It is just what it is, but we're playing the long game. Hopefully Def Noodles will receive this and he'll watch it and he'll say, let's have a chat. Which would be really nice. A really nice chat. That would be really good. But yeah, good video, Def Noodles. Very cool video, brother. Let's see what the comments say. Papa got to say he won't be traumatized. Yes, she won't be. I don't care. Let's see. Thank God a man who knows what it's like to be groomed at 15 years old knows that it doesn't affect her as much as she thinks. Wait, so this is, thank God this man who knows exactly what it's like to be groomed 15-year-old girl knows that it doesn't affect her as much as she thinks it does. I mean, it's not like her own trauma, and he is an expert on childhood trauma. Bro, Def Noodles, brother, I just want you to look at this comment and realize that, like, this is the people, how they're interpreting what you're saying. They think that this girl got groomed. Grooming is such a intentional, methodical, manipulative thing that you do to set a person up, usually a child, but it could be anybody, a person up for sexual exploitation. This is not grooming, bro. This is 93 people agreed that this was grooming. Somebody says, when was she groomed? Come on, man. Like, do you understand, like, how toxic, bro? Okay. This is one of the things that really bothers me, because I'm very connected with people who were raped violently. And like, I understand, like, these situations are very, okay. Okay. Bro, I don't even want to talk about this, but I feel like I have to, because I feel like I need to like truly dude, I don't even want to talk about this. I feel like I really need to like get to the core of like why I'm reacting the way that I am, because I know that they're weaponizing social narrative. Bro, I don't even want to talk about this. They're weaponizing social narratives, and it's so diminishing to survivors. It's so diminishing. And when I see this, and like every single day, another thing is sexual assault, and another thing is grooming, and another thing is a pedophile, and another thing is this, and another thing is that, and it's so diminishing to so many people who've actually gone through this. It's insane. And like, I'm so connected to this because like this is all that I can do. Like it's one of those things where like there's nothing else that I can fucking do. There's nothing else that I can do. Like, truly. There's nothing else I could do. And dude, this is such, I fucking hate that. Okay. So my wife was watching the stream, and like, I wanted to ask her before I talked about this, just to be like 100% like want to talk about why this stuff like resonates with me so much, and like why like I'm so invested in talking about sexual assault in situations like this. Okay. I'm trying to be as genuine as possible. And like, I hate talking about this because it's like one of the only things that like ever gets me upset. Okay. when we, like, it sucks too, because like I hate that I'm upset about it, because this is like my wife's trauma, and like I feel so entitled to be talking about this. But like I asked her, okay, when we started dating, like, and like at some point in our dating, she became comfortable enough with me to express to me like her trauma. Okay, and I want you to explain this to you, why I take like all these situations, and like, because I feel like every time we overreact and we use the energy of sexual assault on these things, it's so diminishing to people who are like actually sexually assaulted, like survivors of sexual assault. She finally felt comfortable enough to express this thing to me that she's never expressed to anybody else in the entire world. And she described this situation that was so it was so violent, and it was so horrible, and it was the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And the first thing she asked me was I actually sexually assaulted? And that was probably probably the most upsetting thing that I've ever heard in my entire life, because there's no way that she could feel like she wasn't. And I remember my follow-up to that was like, I'm going to kill him, you know, which is, I think, a very normal interaction to have. And the next thing that she said was, are you okay? That's the next thing that she said, was like, are you okay? You know? And like that was the most selfish I've ever felt in my entire life. That she managed to express this trauma to me, and like my first response was like, she said to me, are you okay? How fucking insane is that? And I realized that like most of the time when somebody expresses something like this to you, like the best reaction isn't to personalize it or get angry. It's normal for you to get there, but it's the support that she needs from it, you know? And that's all I could do. And so this is why I do this. This is why I talk about this. This is why it matters so much to me to talk about this kind of stuff. And so when we watch this video, everybody's going to have like a different interpretation of the information from the B family. And I get it. And I understand that like Def Noodles' focus is on the immediate bad thing that happened. And that is, this girl was getting diminished online. And that's totally understandable, because that's the initial blast. Excuse me. The initial blast is that a girl who is 15 is getting harassed online. Now, it's not her directly, but it shows a normalization of toxic behavior, especially from young boys, on the internet. And it's so normal. And I know it's normal and it needs to change. But we need to change that more than we need to criticize an individual operating within this broken system where this is normal. Right? So we need to call out his behavior, and it needs to be an example, right? It's like, hey, this is wrong. And that's totally valid, and I understand it. And like, maybe I should have focused on that more, and I'm sorry. But the focus for me more than anything else wasn't that. It is all the baggage that the B family pulled in. Because they didn't start with like, this is inappropriate, this is too normal, this needs to stop. They intentionally misrepresented his age to be 19 when there was, I don't know how. His Twitter said 16, which was like, he forgot to update it. His Instagram said 17. There's no way that you could have gotten it wrong. But they did. They called him a rapist because he mentioned she was a porn star getting gangbanged, which is inappropriate. But it is a massive exaggeration. They called him a pedophile because they intentionally set up the incorrect age of 19. And they called him a predator. In the follow-up video that they made, after they had acknowledged in the comments that he was or in the description that he was 17, they continued to call him a grown man. This is so bad. And like, this is why not only is it invalidating to sexual assault survivors, and people who've survived like all this horrible trauma, but it also feels like such an intentional racist undertone. And from my failures as a human being, in the past of having my own racial biases that like is and like, listen, I probably still have them. I probably still have them. But from like really trying, I feel like I know what they're trying to say and they're trying to do. Like, that's why I feel like it's such a racist thing. And you have two different levels here. You have the intentional invalidation of like people who have been predatorized or sexual assault survivors. And then you have something that I feel is truly racist. You have people who are like, they really truly feel like bad people doing this. And their daughter's getting caught in the crossfire. And, you know, like, I'm sorry if I was being too invalidating, but if she is genuinely crying, that is a very sheltered take for her to have, because that is the energy of violent sexual assault. A violent, bloody, horrible, demeaning and degrading sexual assault. And it's so acceptable in this online space to be so sensationalized in everything that we say and that we talk about. And like, I'm just trying to course correct and have the right conversation. And so, you know, I will say that fundamentally, this is why, because I know a lot of you guys want me to be like, fuck Def Noodles, fuck Def Noodles, fuck Def Noodles. And I understand, because there are probably times where he's gotten things wrong before this, obviously. Just like there's times where I've gotten things wrong, obviously, right? I was banned off of TikTok for being a dumb fuck. Let's be honest here. It's not like I'm innocent. I know people are sending me videos where they want me to react to that Kavos video about Def Noodles. I don't want to play the game, because even if he did shitty things in the past, if he's changed, which some of you even acknowledge, like, yeah, I still don't like him, but he's better, then what am I going to do? What am I doing then? What am I going to be doing here? Just engaging in some fucking shit throwing tournament? Stupid. That's childish. This would be pathetic, you know? And so I truly, I think that the best faith interpretation here is that Def Noodles is focusing on the harassment of the girl because it makes sense. And he's looking at the rest of it as like a secondary. And I think that it's the wrong way to look at things. I don't think that he's being accurate. I think that his interpretation of my video is dishonest, but I understand it. I'm just trying to communicate that what they're doing, not Def Noodles necessarily, really, what the B family is doing is having a really bad conversation about sexual assault in a way that's going to victimize people for like the bare minimum. And what's left for people who have truly been sexually assaulted? I just, it's so hard to communicate. You know, I've been in situations where I've been sexually, I guess I wouldn't consider it sexual assault, but you guys probably would. Like, I used to have a gay friend, and he would constantly touch my fucking dick. And I hated it. It was inappropriate. It made me really angry. And I didn't stop him because he was a good guy. He was a nice guy. And you guys are probably fucking mind blown by that. Like, how could I say that this guy who was fucking touching my dick was like a sexual predator? And it's like, well, because he wasn't, bro. He did it because like he liked me. And I know that I'm not victim blaming myself or like, I don't want any of these. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but by this, the point I'm trying to say is like, by the reaction of her, my expected reaction is to break down in tears because this guy was constantly touching my dick and making me uncomfortable. And like, that's not an appropriate response, man. It's just not. So like, we do need to have societal conversations about the appropriate responses to things. People can be sensitive. That's their right. But that doesn't mean that like everything that like you're experiencing is valid, or rather, let's not even say like that. Like well, no, kind of. You know, if somebody, you know what I'm saying? If someone smacks you in the face, you have no right to take a gun and shoot them. You know, but my point is like the correct interactions with people based on what's happening, and it is insane. I don't even believe that that's truly how she feels. I think more than that, it's basically the baby syndrome. I think that the internet's interaction with anything that's bad, that's on the spectrum of sexual assault, even if it's at the very beginning of the spectrum, is hypercharged to have their interaction of like the end of the spectrum. And it's one of those things where like if you're let's say your kid falls on the ground and they don't and you go, "Oh my God, are you okay?" They start crying. But if you say you're just okay, you're okay, they don't cry. It's one of those things. I know we're not babies, but we still engage in that. When people give too much into people's interactions on things, as like, yeah, that's appropriate. This is what happens. That's what's happening with her. It's not a genuine reaction from her. And with all the pretext of what happened, it feels like the parents coached her to cry so that they can try to deplatform this kid. So hopefully I was able to communicate what I was trying to say here in the best way possible. in the least argumentative and the least divisive way possible, so that like we can have an honest conversation rather than just kind of going with the easy path of instantly agreeing with anything that big celebrities say, because that's what happened, and it's inappropriate and it shouldn't be happening. So hopefully we did the right thing there, guys.